Have you ever noticed how a single regret can hijack your entire day? You're sitting in traffic and suddenly your mind drifts to that conversation from 5 years ago where you said the wrong thing. Here's what most people don't realize. Regret isn't just an emotion, it's a choice. The past exists nowhere except in your mind, and you have absolute sovereignty over what lives there. How much of your mental real estate is currently occupied by moments you can't change? If you're honest, and I hope you will be, the answer might shock you. Stay with me for the next few minutes, because we're about to dismantle the architecture of regret and rebuild something extraordinary in its place. This isn't just philosophy, it's psychological liberation. The architecture of regret. Let me start with a story about David, a successful entrepreneur who sold his tech company for millions. Instead of celebrating, he spent years tormented by the decision, imagining alternate timelines where he made even more money. David's story perfectly captures what the Stoics understood about regret. It's not actually about the past. It's about our attachment to fictional alternatives. Regret operates like a psychological parasite. It feeds on your present energy to sustain past pain. Every moment you spend relitigating old decisions is a moment stolen from creating new possibilities. Here's why regret becomes so addictive. It gives us the illusion of control. When we replay scenarios in our minds, we feel like we're working on the problem. But we're not working, we're worrying. We're not processing, we're procrastinating on the future. Your memory is like a library, not a courtroom. You go there to research and learn, not to put yourself on trial repeatedly. The moment memory becomes self-prosecution, you've crossed from wisdom into self-torture. Here's an exercise I want you to try right now. Think of your biggest regret. Got it? Now, instead of asking, why did I do that? Ask, what did that teach me? Feel the shift? The first question leads to a dead end. The second opens a door. The Stoic framework for release. Now let's talk about the practical mechanics of letting go. The Stoics weren't just philosophers, they were practitioners. They developed specific techniques for mental freedom that we can use today. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "Don't let your reflection on the whole of your life crush you." He was describing a mental discipline, the ability to extract lessons without getting lost in stories. Here's how I apply this to regret. I categorize every regretful memory into 2 buckets, lesson learned or lesson learning. If I've extracted the wisdom and changed my behavior as a result, it goes in the first bucket and I give it no more mental energy. Let me share a personal example. 3 years ago, I made a business decision that cost me a significant amount of money. For months, I tortured myself with what-if scenarios. Then I applied Stoic principles. I asked, what can I control about this situation right now? That failure taught me more about due diligence, risk assessment, and emotional decision-making than any success ever could. The monetary loss became an investment in wisdom. But here's the crucial part. I had to actively choose to frame it that way. Marcus Aurelius frequently used the view from above, imagining himself from a cosmic perspective, seeing his problems as temporary blips in the vast expanse of time and space. When I'm stuck in regret, I ask myself, will this matter in 10 years? In 100 years? Usually, the answer brings immediate relief. The power of perspective is that it doesn't change what happened, it changes what it means. Forgiveness as a strategic decision. Here's where I want to challenge something most people believe about forgiveness. We've been taught that forgiveness is a feeling, something that happens to us when we're ready. The Stoics understood something far more practical. Forgiveness is a decision, not an emotion. Let me tell you about Sarah, a client who came to me 5 years after her business partner had betrayed her trust and destroyed their company. She'd been carrying this anger like a backpack full of rocks. "I can't forgive him," she said. "He doesn't deserve it." "You're right," I replied. "He doesn't deserve it. But do you deserve to carry this weight for the rest of your life?" That's when something clicked for her. Forgiveness wasn't about him, it was about her freedom. The Stoic approach to forgiveness is ruthlessly practical. Your resentment isn't the betrayal. It's your judgment about the betrayal, and judgments can be changed. Here's my framework for strategic forgiveness. Step 1. Acknowledge the real cost. Write down exactly what your resentment is costing you, not just emotionally, but practically. What opportunities are you missing? What energy are you wasting? Step 2. Separate the person from the pattern. Forgiveness doesn't mean accepting bad behavior or making yourself vulnerable again. It means releasing the emotional charge so you can see clearly and act wisely. Step 3. Choose your timeline. Don't wait to feel ready to forgive. That day may never come. Instead, set a date. On this specific date, I'm releasing this resentment. Then stick to it. Forgiveness is a commitment, not a feeling. This is strategic forgiveness. It's not about them. It's about reclaiming your energy for what matters. The stories we tell ourselves. Now let's dive deeper into the difference between your past and your identity. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. Colonel Sanders was 62 years old and essentially broke when his restaurant failed. He was rejected 1,009 times before someone said yes to his chicken recipe. At 65, he founded what became KFC. He understood something profound. You are not your history. You are your response to your history. I once worked with a woman named Maria who had been fired from her dream job for making a significant error in judgment. 2 years later, she was still introducing herself in her mind as the person who got fired. She had confused a single event with her entire identity. We worked on reframing her story. Instead of, "I'm someone who failed at my dream job," it became, "I'm someone who learned valuable lessons about attention to detail and is now building something better." Same facts, completely different meaning. Think of your past like an archaeological site. When archaeologists find artifacts, they don't become the artifacts. They study them to understand a civilization. Your memories are artifacts of who you were, not blueprints for who you must remain. Imagine you're the editor of your own life story. You can't change what happened, but you have complete control over how it's framed, what themes you emphasize, and what lessons you extract. The victim's version focuses on what was done to them. The editor's version focuses on response, growth, and what comes next. This is not about positive thinking, it's about accurate thinking. The physics of forward motion. Let me share something I learned from studying physics that completely changed how I think about moving forward. An object in motion tends to stay in motion, and an object at rest tends to stay at rest. This isn't just true for physical objects. It's true for psychological states. When you're stuck in regret, you're psychologically at rest. Breaking free requires applying force 2. The force of action, even small action. A woman named Jennifer came to me completely paralyzed by a career decision she'd made 5 years earlier. She'd left a stable job to start a business that failed, and she'd been replaying that decision ever since. "I can't make any decisions anymore," she told me. "What if I'm wrong again?" I gave her a simple assignment. Make one small decision every day for a week. What to have for breakfast, which route to take to work. Not big decisions, tiny ones, but make them quickly and don't second-guess them. By the end of the week, something had shifted. The mental muscle of decision-making was working again. Motion creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Start with commitments so small they're almost embarrassing. If you want to write a book, commit to writing 1 sentence per day. If you want to get in shape, commit to putting on your workout clothes. The goal isn't the outcome. It's rebuilding your trust in your ability to keep promises to yourself. Instead of trying to change everything at once, improve by just 2% in one area. It's so small it doesn't trigger resistance, but over time it compounds into significant change. Real stories of transformation. Let me share 3 stories that illustrate these principles in action. Story 1. Michael was a 45-year-old executive who made a decision that led to massive layoffs at his company. The guilt was consuming him. He couldn't sleep, couldn't focus, and was considering leaving his career entirely. We applied Stoic principles systematically. First, we separated what he could control from what he couldn't. Then we reframed the narrative. Instead of, "I'm the person who destroyed people's livelihoods," it became, "I'm the person who learned the weight of leadership decisions and will never make them lightly again." Finally, we created forward motion. He started volunteering with a job placement non-profit, helping people find new careers. He used his regret as fuel for meaningful action. 6 months later, he told me, "I still regret what happened, but I'm grateful for who it's made me become." Story 2. Anna was tormented by regret about her parenting during her daughter's teenage years. She'd been going through a difficult divorce and wasn't emotionally available when her daughter needed her most. I asked her, "If your daughter came to you today with the same guilt about her own parenting, what would you tell her?" The answer was immediate. I'd tell her she did the best she could with what she had at the time, and that love isn't perfect, it's persistent. So why don't you deserve the same compassion you'd give your daughter? That question changed everything. The neuroscience behind the philosophy. Here's something the ancient Stoics couldn't have known, but modern neuroscience confirms. Your brain is literally rewiring itself based on what you repeatedly think about. When you repeatedly rehearse regretful memories, you're strengthening those neural pathways. It's like walking the same path through a field every day. Eventually, you create a well-worn trail that becomes the default route. But here's the exciting part. You can create new neural pathways just as easily. Every time you consciously redirect your attention from regret to possibility, from past to present, from problem to solution, you're literally reshaping your brain. Your brain can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. When you repeatedly imagine yourself responding differently to challenges, handling setbacks with grace, and moving forward with purpose, you're literally training your brain for those responses. Building anti-fragility through adversity, The Stoics had a concept that modern thinkers would later call anti-fragility, the ability to not just survive setbacks, but to become stronger because of them. This is the ultimate goal of Stoic practice, not just to move past regret, but to transform it into strength. Every regret becomes a guardian against future mistakes. The business decision that failed becomes your built-in risk assessment system. The relationship that ended badly becomes your emotional intelligence upgrade. I think of regrets as expensive teachers. You've already paid the tuition through pain and consequences. The tragedy would be not graduating from the class. The ultimate reframe, gratitude for regret. Here's the most radical perspective shift I can offer you. What if your regrets are actually gifts? What if the things you're most ashamed of are actually the experiences that developed your depth, compassion, and wisdom? What if your mistakes are what make you interesting, relatable, and genuinely helpful to others? Your regrets prove several beautiful things about you. You have standards, you have conscience, you have growth capacity, and you have love. Most regrets stem from caring about someone or something deeply. The art of forward living. As we reach the end of our journey together today, I want you to understand something profound. The goal isn't to never have regrets. It's to never be owned by them. The Stoics weren't superhuman. Marcus Aurelius struggled with difficult decisions that affected millions. Seneca made business choices he later questioned. Epictetus carried the psychological scars of slavery. They experienced regret, but they refused to live there. The difference between wisdom and suffering isn't the absence of difficult experiences, it's the presence of skillful responses to them. Remember, you are not your regrets. You are your response to your regrets. The ancient Stoics believed that within every adversity lies the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. Your job is to find that seed, plant it, and nurture its growth. Your past is not your prison, it's your preparation. Your mistakes are not your identity, they're your education. Your regrets are not your limitations, they're your launching pad. The only direction that matters is forward, always forward. Now stop watching videos about changing your life and start actually changing it. The Stoics weren't philosophers who just thought about wisdom. They were practitioners who lived it. Your transformation doesn't start tomorrow. It doesn't start when you feel ready. It doesn't start when the circumstances are perfect. It starts right now with your next choice, your next breath, your next step forward. Because that's what Stoics do. They move forward, carrying their scars as badges of survival and their lessons as tools for building something beautiful from the ruins of what was. The past is gone. The future is uncertain. But this moment is yours. What will you do with it? Thank you for joining me on this journey. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And remember, you don't need to be perfect to move forward. You just need to be willing. Until next time, keep practicing the art of forward living.